Looks like Pok Pok will not be berserking, and Mail has decided to take a trade with the Fearless Yeti.
Yeah, unfortunately, Pok Pok doesn't have Berserk. It does have Reckless. If it had Berserk, it'd be a little bit better. The Snowball actually keeping it like being able to make it attack there is pretty sweet. That's the only reason. That's the only reason we didn't see a block on Pok Pok, and now we can safely, like most likely, there's a safe block now for Mail to take.
My apologies. I've been unable to play Eternal for a week, and I misremembered that Reckless symbol as Berserk.
You're fine. Yetis is actually what I use to climb to Masters, so I'm pretty familiar with the deck. So nice. But Slope Sergeant is really great. It means that, well, I mean, you probably didn't want to attack with Pok Pok anyway. I mean, you didn't really mind Pok Pok attacking, rather. But at the same time, it means that Pok Pok didn't have to attack. All right, well, we didn't kill the... Hetman did not manage to kill Mail before this Tavrod landed, and that could be a problem.
However, Hetman still is more likely to be able to go wide than Mail is, and that may prove to be just enough. I mean, Wump is allowing the Fearless Yeti to get a snowball in for extra scout action.
Yeah, and here you can just attack with everything, right? If you're Hetman, because you know that you don't want to attack into a situation. I might have considered also attacking with Wump, but you really don't want to get into a situation where your opponent just gets to freely double block your Pok Pok. So,
right.
Let's see. I guess it is a little safer to not attack with the Wump. I'm just thinking like long term here. We know a permafrost is coming in, and so I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting question there. I think Hetman keeps the Wump because it means that his remaining units are up and buffed, and I think that if he did attack with the Wump, there is a world where Mail would have chosen to block and kill Wump.
Yeah, most likely.
Mail would have survived at 1 and wouldn't have to be dealing with a Wump, but there goes Wump anyway, off of Tavrod's Killer. And Tavrod with Killer, pretty good combo.
Yeah, that initiation is huge. And those hits off of Tavrod were not small. And now Mail can get back that Awakened Student. We know there's a permafrost coming up, so it's not that strong. But it's still really good, and it's going to be very hard for Hetman to actually finish Mail off.
Yeah, Hetman can't deal lethal damage this turn, and I think his time's up.
Yeah, that Sword of Unity is going to close this out, most likely.
Aggro decks don't come back after a 7-2 Sword of Unity has been played on an already 6-8 Tavrod.
Yeah, no. Makes conservative and most likely correct blocks just going on ahead and trading the Alessi off. It really doesn't matter at this point. There's just too much life gain. Oh goodness. And another double Tavrod value.
Just more and more gas.
Yep.
That's not going to do it for Hetman. So, congratulations to Mail for winning Game 1 against Hetman. We'll move on to Game 2 and see if Hetman might be able to get in enough damage fast enough in this coming time. I imagine that Mail's deck is somewhat at risk of Power Screw, specifically Influence Screw.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being a way that the games end up turning out in Hetman's favor. The other thing is, really the only card that Hetman has to deal with those Tavrods is an unstable form in combination with something else or going fast enough to stop it. So there might be some world where you try to look for a merchant and get that unstable form. But I think it's really just going to come down to beating Tavrod before Tavrod beats you, really.
Yeah. He could also get lucky and Male could wind up not having Tavrods for a game and then Crystallize is an easy finisher on other things, but
Yeah.
never mind. It looks like Male most definitely has a Tavrod in hand, but is currently lacking the time influence to make use of Awakened Student and Aurelian Merchant, and is choosing not to go for a turn 1 Seek power off of Justice Sigil and instead playing out the Banner, which will of course be depleted.
Yeah, and Hetman's hand looks pretty miserable. I might have actually just played the champion out, because you kind of want to do more than just play the champion this turn, I think. And I guess you can play champion plus Poc Poc, but that doesn't seem really attractive. I think that's what's going to happen, though. I don't know if you want to attack here.
It is a very strange attack if you do make it, so I do agree with going for the Poc Poc here. It feels like you're wasting an ability on your Yeti, kind of are, but you're also getting another Yeti in play.
Yeah. And I think that if he had decided to play the champion that turn, then he could have actually developed both the merchant and the Poc Poc this turn. But unfortunately, he decided to hold it.
Merchant shows up now, and it looks like the choice is going to be Unstable Form.
Makes a lot of sense because, like I was saying, it's one of the few ways to actually deal with Tavrod.
Remember when I was talking about not liking Black Hole War Leader before the cast went live? Well, this is part of why. It's just a 2/2 for 2 unless it gets to attack and survive while also hitting Hetman to do so.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, that's an interesting call. I guess it makes sense because Hetman couldn't have played the snowball due to lack of power, but that was an unfortunate unstable form, and I'm not sure I would have even bothered to use it on my opponent's creature there.
Hetman definitely did not want the student to get large, but I feel like he could have had a turn or two before actually doing that.
Yeah, and Poc Poc is actually a fairly decent creature to unstable form. It kind of gets an upgrade most of the time, so...
That is true as well.
I guess we just get rid of the power. You don't really want any of it. Oh, gets rid of the unstable form. I don't like that. I think...
That could definitely come back to bite Hetman. Yeah,
I think maybe he hasn't quite identified that that's one of the only cards he has to deal with Tavrod.
And speaking of Tavrod, he's in play now.
Yep. I guess there is some world where you can just block Tavrod, and maybe that might be something that's happening because we do see an Islands Intervention, so you can make your Yetis bigger here. I think the second stand together. Oh, okay, never mind. Yeah, initiation itself is good enough to stop that play. I was gonna say if Male just wanted to attack, the two stand togethers would basically counteract that play, but.
This is actually, I think, the first time I've seen a Cambria Lessie style deck that's making use of Xenon Initiation on Tavrods, and I'm kind of amazed that people haven't been doing that yet.
It is pretty neat, that's for sure. I have not seen Xenon Initiation on Tavrod ever, actually, but I'm sure that that's something that somebody's done before.
It's certainly a strong play, and in combination with the stand together there, it was enough to prevent Island's Intervention from actually doing anything.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot of 7-power war leaders there. Not really super exciting, but kind of fun.
I mean, kind of. I wonder about the Minotaur Gunslinger with Revenge. Not Groundhog's Press Gang, which is Minotaur Soldier with Revenge.
The stunning one, right? The 5-drop?
No, I was thinking about the 2-drop that gets +1 power each time it attacks.
Yeah, that card's pretty... That could be interesting.
I wonder if it's just better than Black Hole War Leader, because Black Hole War Leader just kind of does nothing.
Yeah, probably. I mean, revenge is a really good keyword, so I could definitely see it being better. I think I would have just attacked. I'm not. Or yeah, I think we're okay trading these war leaders away. I don't really know why Mail isn't pressing the advantage. It doesn't matter too much. Just one of those small things. I think that maybe some of these war leaders could have gotten in there.
Yeah, I mean, only one of them wasn't played this turn, I believe. Maybe the second war leader was able to attack. Either way, it's going to be the game, and with it, the match to Mail, taking down Hetman. 2-0.
Kind of the result I expected, just because I know that the Yeti's deck has a lot of trouble handling cards that have endurance, like big units. Titan is a really big problem for the deck. So I'm not too surprised to see Tavrod take that down both games.
And with that, I think we're going to go to a quick break, see if we can come up with another match for you before the start of the next round. If not, we will see you then.
Sounds good.
And we are back with Jikaran versus Yautcheka. Jikaran is on temporal control and currently has the namesake temporal distortion in play, while his opponent Yautcheka is on Kenedin and is looking like he's in a tough spot. Players are currently tied 1-1 despite the image that says otherwise. And that means that I think it's going to be really tough for Yautcheka to finish this off.
Yeah, once the temporal deck actually has temporal control in play, it gets a little harder. That's for sure.
Though I suppose if you're going to do it, it probably is going to be with Molotnikova.
Yeah. Decides not to play it. Might have some information we don't have that makes them a lot better to keep in hand.
The plan could just be to wait until Yarchek has enough power to play the Molotnikova and copy it with the end of hostilities.
Oh yeah, maybe. That wouldn't be bad. End of hostilities gets a lot less consistent when you're playing against temporal though. It could have also been waiting on the spark, but I don't know how much I'd like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure the spark right here is quite worth it. I mean, it's some more damage, but it's also giving Jikaran time to gain additional life and armor off of the Stronghold Visage. There's also wearing. But Jikaran has been top-taking just power, and as soon as I say that, he scouts Channel the Tempest to the top.
Yeah, that channel is going to be pretty disastrous. Although we might actually see Yacheka go for the attack in, play the Molotnikova, play the sack a token. Oh, it doesn't attack first. Okay.
That's just a waste of 1 damage.
Yeah, I mean, 1 damage doesn't mean a ton right now, but it's just a small thing. Unfortunately, we know this play is going to get messed up pretty hard with this Equivocate plus Harsh.
I suppose the intent was, if the board got Harsh ruled, it would have prevented this, but yeah, we're still just going to see 2 spells clearing the board and draw of Channel the Tempest, which is going to go straight into that Aegis and is going to result in 3 more draws, which are once again still not much in the way of stuff.
That's good. That's good for Yacheka, but
yeah,
I guess now it's just hope to get a Kenna at this point. Kenna could maybe take over this game just a little bit. One of the nice things about Kenna is if she gets equivocated, you don't mind too much. I mean, you do get another 7-drop, which is fairly powerful.
Yeah.
Oh, there was an end of hostilities on top. I wonder if there was any consideration to just going on ahead and playing that last turn just to clear the top of your deck. Because I don't think that it's going to be particularly good in this matchup for the most part.
I think it might be exactly what Yacheka needs if he wants to be able to somehow have a burst turn to win.
True, yeah. And but I mean, he's got one in the void, which means that Kenna is still fine even if even if you draw that here, but I can see holding one and keeping it. That does make sense.
It just makes your other threats theoretically more potent, and having a 3rd Spark Hatcher isn't really going to change your clock against Jikaran, which right now is probably too slow to be able to avoid decking out.
Yeah, most likely. I also haven't looked at the list, so I don't know exactly how many threats Yacheka is playing besides just the normal.
Oh, the normal went Kennas. To the market to grab a Vital Arcana, which drew into the 2nd Stronghold Visage. But while that's going on, Yacheka managed to get a Kenna and go get back into hostilities off of it. But attacking with that Kenna before playing into hostilities might have just been what lost Yacheka the game.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, you kind of have to play around everything in your opponent's deck at this point in the game to try to win. And I might have tried to play around an ambush unit if possible. It looks like it wouldn't have mattered too much. It does matter a bit, but like Harsh Rule and Channel are pretty. This is pretty sick. That Wisdom was very good.
Yeah, those are some good cards to draw off of Wisdom of the Elders.
So it looks like there is just 1 Molot and 4 Kinnas as far as threats go. There is a Flamestoker maybe in the market. Did you say that Yacheka has already been to the market?
The Flamestoker is definitely still there in the market.
Okay. there may be some sort of combination of Flamestoker and Caleb's Choice that could maybe help eke this out, but I'm not positive on that.
One of the issues is that now with 2 Stronghold Visages, Jikran's gaining 4 life a turn.
Yeah. And there's even a disjunction in hand, so it seems unlikely that the Flamestoker would live very long.
Yeah, Jikran specifically went and got that, looking at the deck lists, which are open to see, is there anything that Yocheka could maybe use to pull out a win in this game? Oh, maybe Flamestoker. I'll go get Disjunction.
Yeah, and we're pretty late into the game, so the market could also be fairly anemic at this point. And then the other thing is, well, I haven't looked. Gosh, I should look at his list. But it's possible that there might be some sort of the Sky Kings in this deck. I don't think I see any though.
It certainly wouldn't do much into Yaocheka here without harsh rule.
Yeah, it wouldn't. It would just be another excuse to have that disjunction in your hand, just in case you needed to harsh rule and then like get back sword or something. Like I'm just thinking of possible reasons why, besides just the Combustion Cell or the Flamestoker, you might want disjunction.
And there's Luminal Climber to prevent Jikran from ever decking out. The plan might just be to force Yaocheka to deck.
Yeah, that is a plan. You also get to redraw all those channels that you've used and all kinds of good stuff here. But yeah, I don't see winning through a Luminal Claimer, unfortunately.
I mean, at this rate, it would only take 35 more turns.
That's a while. That's a good snoozer of a game. Pretty much what the TJP deck wants to play.
For sure, unless we're talking TJP Alessi.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, so attack with everything. I guess that did do a couple points of damage.
I mean, what it really did was get Yaocheka fewer Spark Hatchers to make a harsh rule that much more effective.
Ooh, Recon Tower. I can get behind Recon Tower.
That could also be how Jikran wins the game.
Could. It might actually be faster than decking at this point.
It would be faster, but at this point, I suspect that Jikran at some point will draw into the ability to deal damage faster than 1 a turn.
Yeah, I imagine Channel is going to be what finishes this game, if I had to guess.
We could see a world where Jikran uses Disjunction to get back Recon Tower and have 2 Recon Towers, or rather 2 Guard Towers to...
Does that work that way?
Yes, because Recon Tower actually sacrifices itself to play a Guard Tower rather than just flipping over into a Guard Tower.
That's pretty exciting.
Even though the animation for it changing is it flipping over, it actually is a sacrifice. Now, Yaocheka drew into some unstable forms that turned one of his units into a 4-1. And that 4-1 just died to Clan Tactic.
It did. I mean, that's probably a fine use of Clan Tactic. It's not going to get much better.
Yeah, you use Clan Tactic there essentially to save a Aurelian Merchant or Luminal Claimer. Yeah.
I mean, there's not much Clan Tactic kills out of Yaocheka's deck. May as well just kill the unit. Now, Hailstorm's pretty good.
Yeah, at this point, Jikran is spoiled for choice. Hailstorm is a great way to deal with Yaocheka's board without losing any units in the process. And at this point, I really don't see any.
I don't see an out
where Yaocheka manages to win this game.
Maybe if there was a world where Jikran's hand wasn't these cards, then I could see it. because you could maybe there were more Molots in the deck, because you might be able to unstable Molot into like a Scourge or something and then just never attack with it. But I'm not sure that. I mean, we know that world doesn't exist, so.
Yeah, back when Jikaran's hand was very anemic, I think if Yarcheka had ordered things as to not lose his Kenna before making a copy of it, making 2 copies of it even, I think Yarcheka could have won the game, but at this point, it's all said and done, and Jikaran will be taking home the win of our last game of the round.
And there's the final spell. Channel should do it. Exciting.
Yeah.
I kind of prefer the versions of this temporal deck that runs sword, just because it closes out games a little faster. But there is something satisfying about Lumen Reclaimer.
Satisfying, yes, but also we have a tournament to run and we have a next round to get to, so we're going to take a quick break in preparation for that.
Sounds good.
And we are back with round 2 of the ECL Tuesday Weekly. This round we will be featuring the Overmaster and Yurik Yu. Both of these players won their last round, and we're going to get to see some interesting decks here. At first glance, you'd think, oh, Yurik Yu's deck is going to be a Mask of Tormentor control deck. Well, the only Mask of Tormentor is in the market.
Yeah, that's pretty odd for sure. And there are some other really interesting market choices like Solitude and Gift, which are pretty cool. The Solitude, that's interesting. And I didn't notice this until just now, but there's a 2-2 split on the merchants, which is kind of odd.
Yeah, only running 2 of each merchant is definitely something I haven't seen very often. I feel it's either just have a market for one merchant or have a market that's designed to run with 4 of 2 different merchants, or maybe 4 and 3, not 2 and 2. It's definitely a different take on things, but it worked out for Yurik Yu in match 1. The Overmaster is on a list that apparently has seen some play in the time I was away from Eternal.
Yeah, this is Bruised by God's tribute deck. It's a Huru tribute deck that's running the usual Kenna End of Hostilities combination, but you generate a lot of extra cards, and you have some great discard targets with Privilege of Rank, Jotun Hurler, just things that you draw and immediately create value, or when you discard, you get value off of them. It was very impressive, and I believe that Bruised by God was playing it at rank 2 and had a very solid win rate with it.
Exciting. So it looks like the players are ready. Let's watch them play it out.
Now, I don't know who really has the advantage in this matchup.
It's definitely a strange one.
Yeah, Overmaster's deck does not run harsh rules, which actually might give him a slight edge just because you don't really want to run harsh rules into Macto too often. And there do appear to be a few pretty decent targets to End of Hostilities that your opponent has, mostly just the Mactos, but Alchemist can do a little bit of work.
Even Ion is a theoretical choice if you want to maybe be getting a Kenna out of the void as a big unit. Sure, you won't get the Kenna's ability, but you also can't get Kenna out of the void in other ways anyway.
Yeah. I will say that Feaster is looking okay in this matchup. A little bit sad because there is a Runehammer and a Wasp in Yurik's deck, but only one of each. So other than that, most of the spot removal doesn't really deal with it. There are 2 Vanquishes and 3 Slays, but that means you have to break an Aegis first. So I don't know if we'll see that. But Runehammer is definitely your best answer to a Feaster, and Feaster going wild is one of the ways that this deck takes over the game.
Oh, here's Inquisitor Macto already for your hero.
Yeah, I mean, Macto is definitely the threat that Yurik wants, but it's also really what you don't want to get copied by End of Hostilities, so I don't know how I'd feel about that card being in my hand. I would be excited to have that Runehammer, though. Runehammer does a lot of work in this matchup. You want to kill their... why can't I not remember it? You want to kill the Whispering Winds really bad, and you would like to kill the Nocturnal Observer, but I don't think that... I don't think he's going to be able to stop the value of Observer this game just because of that privilege that's already in hand.
Being able to go under the aegis of Jotun Feastcaller is also a great thing for Orc Runehammer to be doing here.
Yeah, actually, he has the other answer to Feaster as well in his hand, which is Wasp. So he's ready for this Feaster. There's only one of each of those cards, but this Feaster is gonna die.
I mean, Scorpion Wasp is a bit slower at doing that than
That is true, yeah.
Arc Runehammer. It gives an opportunity to attack, and every attack with Feast Caller adds more cards.
Speaking of more cards, Overmaster just drew a privilege rank off of that Observer. That's pretty awesome. Looks like he might actually need to consider discarding here. I'm not counting. Nope. Just there, just under the line of needing to discard.
Even if he needed to discard at this point, I don't think he'd mind.
That's true, yeah.
Annihilate is going to stay on top for ERQ. That's a very good way of dealing with, I believe, every single unit in the Overmaster's deck.
Yeah. Yeah, and he probably wants to save it for Kenna's if possible, just because he needs to be able to stop the Endo Hostilities combo. But I mean, he's got plenty of ways to kind of rebuild from that. All right, well that's interesting. Decides to deploy the Macto. It does make sense because of the way that this board looks. It's a little dangerous if Overmaster had an End of Hostilities though, because he probably needs to block something.
Yeah, and it's a very important note that one of the concessions Yurikyu has made in deck building. Oh, sorry about that. One of the concessions Yurikyu has made in deck building is that Yurikyu actually isn't running any sources of silence. So, if the Overmaster did get some Inquisitor Mactos, they'd be coming back to.
Okay, decides to go for the card draw. Kind of interesting.
It does Overmaster. Overmaster will get to go for the card draw as well.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he's going to try and deploy this Kenna pre-combat. We know that won't work because of the Annihilate, but it's sort of tempting because you get to kill both the Macto and the Runehammer, and your units are free to keep attacking. The other idea is maybe attack and then Hailstorm afterwards. A lot less appealing for sure.
One of the downsides here of this play is that Kenna doesn't get her tribute value.
Yeah.
Sure, the only things right now to get would be Privilege of Rank, but I feel like trading a Feast Caller into the Inquisitor Macto, which, worth note, Overmaster... Oh, they're both on the same tick. My bad. I thought
They're
for
both
a second.
what?
I thought for a second that the one Yurikyu blocked was drawing fewer cards than the one he didn't.
Oh yeah, no, they were on the same thing, and I like the attack from Overmaster because he knows that one of those is going to die to the Runehammer, so he's effectively trading one of them for the Runehammer anyway there, and drawing an extra card.
Yes, of course, it was a very reasonable attack, but I feel if the Overmaster would have been able to soul read the Annihilate, or even just expect that, hey, Yurikyu could have an Annihilate here and that would blow me out.
Yeah.
He could have attacked with both and then gone for the Hailstorm route.
This is kind of an interesting decision because now Overmaster has to figure out how much he wants to commit to this board because he knows that Yurik is running 4 harsh rules and 3 into the stories. Oh, no, it's actually 3 into the stories.
Wow.
So he knows there's going to be a lot of sweepers here. So he decides not to, and I like it. He decides to keep one of the Whispering Winds. Ooh, into the line.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gross.
Another hand. Here it's going to kill Whispering Wind and break the Aegis from Jotun Feast Caller.
Yep.
That Feast Caller will get to attack in this turn, though.
It will announce drawing 3 cards, which is pretty awesome. I guess it's just a small thing, and it doesn't really matter, but you do play Crest in the deck, so there might have been some consideration to waiting on the power. That's kind of weird.
I think the issue is that
He was full. His hand was full.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good point. Then that's why he decided to do that. All right, that makes sense. I was like, why did he just discard the observer when he could have discarded a land? But it was just because, or a sigil, but it's just because of that. Okay,
that makes sense. Same reason he chose not to wait on power plays. Though speaking of power plays, in a different term, Into Hostilities is a pretty powerful play.
I actually did not realize that he hadn't ended his turn. That is really good. I'm just like, I just thought that he ended his turn, but now it makes sense why he discarded the creature, because I think he had a chance to discard something else, maybe.
Yeah.
But
also
discarding
the trigger from Torgov.
Yeah, but discarding the unit makes perfect sense now, especially considering he wanted to get that value off of End of Hostilities.
The time it took the Overmaster there might have just been time to double check, make completely sure that Yurikyu doesn't have silence effects in the deck, which we know to be the case. So those Mactos are going to be a very persistent threat to Yurikyu's life.
It's 2 Mactos versus 1, and Overmaster does have a Whispering Wind in hand, so he might be able to get to them quicker. It's probably going to die, but if that wasn't the case.
If you're Yurikyu, would you be spending the Slay on Whispering Wind?
I probably would. I'm not sure how familiar Yurik is with the matchup, but Whispering Wind is a very important engine card. Looks like he's going to go for the Wasp instead. Or maybe he doesn't play either. Maybe he just plays the end of turn Ion. I'm not positive.
He chose to call the Jotun Feast Caller. A more damage cognizant line, but it results in a draw of a Kenna.
Yeah, a hurler, right? Sorry, you said Feast Caller. I'm just making sure that it was a hurler.
It was a hurler.
Okay, no problem. Oh, all right. Well, this is kind of the problem with that line. Now we managed to draw a Kenna off the Whispering Wind. I don't know if Overmaster is going to jam this Kenna in or just wait till next turn. I'm not sure.
Well, Overmaster knows that Yurikyu has a lot of slow speed removal, but also knows that Scorpion Wasps do exist. And he's choosing not to attack into a Scorpion Wasp. And, well, Yurikyu did draw Herschel, chose not to play it, and now the Overmaster draws both of his Macros.
How exciting. Well, this is, I think this is actually looking pretty bad for Yurik if Overmaster takes the line that I think he's going to. Because it's pretty exciting here to just make even more Mactos. Oh, wow, the Unseal is really good. I didn't even think about getting the Unseal from the market, but that makes perfect sense. Interesting.
There's not any units in the Overmaster's hand, which means Tribute is not currently active.
Yeah, and I'm wondering why he decided, I guess Yurik is just ready to harsh rule this board.
Is he going to snowball his Kenna?
He decides not to. Probably a wise decision. Doesn't really want to tap down out of Unseal range.
True, he wouldn't have enough power to kill his Kenna and get 2 more Mactos there.
Yeah, and the Unseal was a really heads up get from Overmaster. I mean, probably didn't have much better in his market anyway, but that was definitely a solid thing to get. Has another End of Hostilities on top. Okay.
And now it's time for the full-on Flunge.
Yep. Probably just discards this seat. If I had to guess. Oh, discards the Hailstorm. Okay. Wants something better than a 1-cost card. That makes sense. Like, wants a chance at getting something better. Well, Kenna dies, but I don't think Overmaster minds making 4 more Mactos here.
It seems like a pretty good play.
Yeah, it seems good to me. Overmaster harkening back to the Echo Macto days, just decides to fill his entire board with Mactos.
He's even done overdrawing as well this game.
Yep.
So he's really on that Ecomacto train.
All right. So it was kind of how I thought it might turn out if Yurk played a Macto and Overmaster was actually able to capitalize on that.
So we'll see if Yurk Ryu in game 2 is going to be once bitten, twice shy and avoids playing those Mactos, which definitely limits his threat options, but I think it's also kind of what you have to do when you don't have any way to deal with Mactos, and you can give your opponent all of those Mactos.
Yeah, I don't know what strategy he's going to pick. I'm hoping that he finds out that the Whispering Winds are much bigger of a threat than they look. I think that's what he really needs to do, is make sure he can kill all of Overmaster's discard effects if possible. It's going to be really difficult to do that, though. There's a lot in this deck.
Right.
Speaking of which, there's one right now, and Overmaster has another wonderful hand, I'd say. Just getting rid of this privilege and setting up for the Tavrod. Yurik's hand is a bit slow, but his deck is slow. He doesn't mind this too much. Although honestly,
however, is that Overmaster, if given time, can definitely become a large threat.
Yeah, and not only that, his hand is not just a little bit slow. It's really slow. Like I like looking at it. Sorry, go on.
At least Yurikyu will be able to play Harsh Rule or Into the Story now, which he didn't have in the hand at first.
Yeah, and this is a concession you make when you play decks that have Find the Way, though there are going to be hands like this. And Overmaster isn't just going to kill him right away. He does have plenty of time. It's just one of those things where the hand was much slower than I had even initially saw, because most of these sigils aren't going to be undepleted unless you decide to actually play your seats before your depleted power.
That may prove to be the correct line. Next turn, Yurikyu could play out Find the Way, then play an undepleted seat and a Wanted poster.
Yeah, Wanted poster would be fine. Can set it up on maybe this Tavrod, or just vanquish this Tavrod. That would also be fine. Probably, I think vanquishing Tavrod might be a little bit better than playing the Wanted poster, just so your opponent doesn't get another easy discard effect. But I guess we're not really going into the key turn where discard effects are huge. It's just you don't really want to see Tavrod get a lot of value.
Looks like it is going to be the play of killing Torgov right there.
Yep. And I think we're going to see the poster being played on one of these observers, most likely. And maybe not much else next turn. It all depends on what kind of power Yurk draws. We might even see something like the Vital Arcana.
Yeah, Vital Arcana or Wanted poster plus Stonepetter Alchemist.
Yeah.
The Alchemist does not line up well against Overmaster's deck, though.
Yeah, and I think this would actually be a board that I would be very good with Harsh Ruling. Now that my opponent has played a lot of discard effects, and I really would not want this Whispering Wind to even get an attack.
Well, I don't think is not ready to commit that. Instead, going for Vital Arcana and having to discard a card, which will be Recon Tower.
Yeah, and now that Overmaster has access to this unseal, it could be pretty hard. I mean, Yurk's going to have to basically rule twice. But Overmaster is still digging for things. Who knows what Overmaster will decide to play? He might not go get the unseal. This board isn't exactly like insane or anything, so I could see him not being super conservative.
What ways does Yurikyu have to perhaps activate Tribute off of sacrifice. Does Yurku really have any ways to sacrifice a unit?
I don't really see any way to sacrifice a unit. I don't actually see any good way to activate tribute. I don't see any discarding effects, really.
Right, that's what I thought, and that means that End of the Story is going to have a tough time becoming unnegatable and going through an aegis such as that Genev Merchants.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I think the Overmaster has sort of realized that and decides to just go ahead and get the Thunderstrike Dragons. Just doesn't care that much about the rule, which is kind of interesting. I can kind of get behind that. It gives you more fodder to discard. Those Thunderstrike Dragons both represent a Kinna each, which is pretty sweet when you're going into a turn where you can activate Kinna's Tribute and also, player and get some value.
Certainly. However, right now the tribute options would be Privilege of Rank or Seek Power, and at this point, that's not really what.
Oh, that doesn't seem very good then.
Perhaps use End of Hostilities first, which Overmaster does have in hand. We're seeing a game where both players have very stacked hands, but I think the Overmaster is going to be able to do more with it than Yurki will.
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of tough for Yurik in this matchup. I mean, without information on what Overmaster's hand looks like, I'm not absolutely sure what's going to happen here. Honestly, I mean, I don't really see a line of play where Yurik can completely outlast what Overmaster's doing just because of the density of the cards in his hand right now.
I'm going to have to agree with you right now, but it is still possible that Yurku could just draw running Harsh Rules.
Yeah, he definitely will probably need some more board clears. Discards the Hurler, which is kind of okay, and so Yurik decides he doesn't need the Merchant. Oh, okay. So we're just going to get 2 more Merchants. I kind of like this.
Is Overmaster going to send a Thunderstruck Dragon back to the market and then go get it again?
I think so, yeah. I think he might just fill his hand with Thunderstrike Dragons. Oh, decided not to do that. Okay. I am wrong. I was excited. I was excited for that snowball to kill this merchant for no reason.
Well, there's no reason to use the snowball there.
Yeah. So he just decides to get the safe Unseal plus Kinna. I like that. He's still going to have 3 2s at the end of this harsh rule. Unseal will still be a major problem for Yurik. Definitely do not double block this. Okay. Decides to. This is a cool play. Decides to annihilate his own merchant to turn on into the story's tribute. Pretty exciting stuff. You do need to play your power. Okay.
That's depleted.
It's depleted. Well, that's unfortunate. That's probably not what Yurik was intending then.
This is where I'd be using the emote of not exactly what I had in mind.
Yeah, and I might have still pulled the trigger on this harsh rule, but decides to play the Visage instead.
That too.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those things where made a mistake, plans changed, and maybe we needed to go back to the drawing board to figure out what the best course of action was after we made a small mistake like that. Because, I mean, it was a really large mistake, but
yeah, now Yurikyu doesn't have a way to be playing the end of the story, so
yeah,
it's gonna be seeing that Overmaster has a Unseal in hand and playing his Harshal into it, and that will be the game, and with it the match. Overmaster took the match 2-0 versus Yurikyu.
Good job, Overmaster. It doesn't look like a very good matchup for Yurik, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's one of the issues about playing decks where your way of winning is a big haymaker like Macto against a deck that uses end of hostilities.
Oh, I may have called Torgov Tavrod. My bad if that happened.
You definitely did.
Whoopsie. Well, whatever.
I mean,
They're both Tads. Tavs, whatever. Taz.
They start with a T and they both get value on attacks.
They start with, oh, you're right. It isn't TA for both. Oh, whatever. Trogdor Auric Broker. I like that. Do we have?
So that was our last match of the round, and with that, we are going to take a short break to prepare for round 3 of 4. And we're back as we prepare for this round. I just want to talk a little bit about the big news that Direwolf Digital supplied to us today. The Eternal World Championship in 2019 is going to be a $100,000 prize pool event that Direwolf will be running online over the course of the next several months. And Does that excite you, Grimfat?
It does a lot. Were you able to catch LSV's stream? I was not.
I was not, unfortunately, able to catch
Okay.
LSV's stream either, so all I really know is what they posted on their blog post, which is that there's going to be various tournaments and perhaps an opportunity for at least some of these things to be covered.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to some of the changes that come about having, I don't know, like if you can have in-client tournaments, it opens a lot of doors to what they can do. And the fact that draft is going to be as big a part of Worlds as constructed, or at least a little part of Worlds. I can't say equal because the announcement didn't say exactly how big of a part it'll be, but inviting people who get 100 top masters in draft to the masters tournament, because draft does prepare you for Worlds, kind of excites me.
It's definitely an interesting choice there, and it means that we might wind up seeing some amount of draft related events at Worlds. We're not really sure yet. However, one thing I do know is that Taco Lord 831 donated to the Matcherino prize pool for our tournament, and that means we're going to shout him out right here. Thank you, Taco Lord 831. And with that, I believe we're just about ready to dive into our match for now. It's going to be Jikaran versus Carnage, and that means that we are going to see a full game, full match even, with temporal control, what Jikaran has brought, versus Carnage on Cambrai Ramp.
Yeah, I am not familiar with this matchup. Just looking at the decks, I would give temporal control the edge, but I'm not positive about that because there are a lot of Sword of Unities in the Cambrai Ramp deck.
The question really is if Jikaran, or if Carnage is going to be able to make use of those Sword of Unities fast enough to prevent Jikaran from getting to do control things.
Yeah. If Jikaran gets to 8 power, it's going to be really rough for Carnage for sure. The ability to Hailstorm and Harsh Rule in the same turn will suddenly be unlocked, and that's pretty much disaster.
Definitely.
But like I said, I'm not incredibly familiar with the matchup. I did play a lot of this big Cambrai deck, but I did not really run into the temporal deck very often. And usually when I did, I was able to curve out and beat them. But this is a little bit different than ladder, because Jikaran knows what hands to keep. He knows what he's playing against. So that I think that might give him a bit of an edge.
Players are ready now, so let's watch them get it on.
You don't really want a Harsh Rule in your opening hand, but other than that, this hand isn't that bad.
However, for Jikaran, we see a 1 power hand that is definitely going away. And turns into this Alpha of a Mulligan.
This isn't too bad. It's pretty unexciting. You don't really want channel in your opener, but you are playing a lot of them, so you're gonna have that happen every once in a while. Carnage decided to keep this.
We have a card back mirror match here.
Yeah, it's a nice card back. Definitely one of the better ones that they've released. I mean, it's still the Direwolf one that is elusive and has evaded me is my favorite, but hey, we can't all play against a Direwolf employee.
I haven't had the opportunity to play against a Direwolf employee either, but man, the employee card backs are probably the prettiest card back.
Yeah.
In Eternal, and might stay that way forever. And
I don't know. I'm pretty
get those.
I'm pretty hyped about this this event season's card back. To be honest with you, I like it. Anyway, Jikaran is just developing his power there. And meanwhile, Carnage
already developing the board.
Yeah, but not in the way you'd really like to. Just because It's hard to really, it's hard for him to get to, he's going to have to get value off of these giant units immediately, basically. Like Martial Ironthorn needs to play a second power. Mystic Ascendant's going to need to draw a card, while at the same time you have to somehow find time to deploy the sword. So I think Carnage is in kind of, it's way too early to call it, but he's in kind of a rough spot here.
Just due to the Equivocate and Vanquish available for Jikarin?
Yeah. Yeah, and if he stops drawing power, it's going to be bad for him, but at the same time, drawing power doesn't seem great. Like, it is good here, but it also is not something that you really want too much of.
Jikarin goes to the market for Vital Arcana, just wanting to keep drawing more cards.
Yep. And now Carnage has to decide, do I just play this Ironthorn out, or do I actually play a sword on my my Desert Marshal? Do I decide to Harsh Rule? I mean, this might be as good as Harsh Rule ever gets, but not really. It decides to just play the Ironthorn. I think that's fine. Yeah. Unfortunately,
the Martial Ironthorn play here just means that there's a threat that Jikarin needs to answer.
Yeah.
You have to be testing the opponent's number of threats. We have today seen some games where Jikarin was very limited on number of removal spells and could have wound up winning, or could have wound up losing if his opponent did test the waters constantly.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Carnage is going to be looking to do here.
Does want power, does probably not want this lingering influence.
Not quite the right source of power.
Yeah, just would like a power of any sort, most likely. I guess we can't do anything now. So just passes the turn. There's a Harsh Rule. We're at the coveted 8 power with a Harsh Rule and a Hailstorm in hand. It's gonna be a challenge.
The one saving grace for Carnage right now is that Jikarin has not gone and gotten Temporal Distortion yet, though I suppose he doesn't necessarily know that for sure. Actually, he does, because the Vital Arcana has already been played.
Yeah. Yeah, if he was paying attention to the hard to spot sometimes market indicators, then he knows that the Vital Arcana was what Jikarin got. Sometimes it's a little tough to see those, honestly. I was playing in the Invitational, and my opponent played a Wasp that was only in their market, but it didn't have the market indicator on it, actually, which was kind of frustrating. Decides to go with the Rune Hammer. I like that play. Definitely. I mean, it's a little worse against a sword, but Jikarin knows his opponent can't play and equip a sword withstand together right now. So...
Do you think that there will be World Championship exclusive somethings, either card backs or emotes or player icons, or
possibly? They might also do. I think that the money is going to be the big thing, but they might also consider something like allowing the champion to design a card. That might be a mistake, though, just because it's something that Magic had already tried and ended up not liking. So that might be something they don't do. So Jikarin decided to skip the attack last turn just to avoid this sort of situation where the Desert Marshal comes down and punishes it. But still decides to kill the... try and kill the Initiative of the Sands, which seems fine. Plays the Mask. Attacks? Sure, why not? May as well get a point of damage in.
I mean, you're gonna have to reduce Carnage's life total to 0 at some point, or
yeah, and we've already witnessed that can be a pretty hard thing to do.
Carnage just really hoping to be able to have a turn where a large unit survives, and it looks like Jikarin's gonna give that now, but Equivocate is around to prevent a sword from being able to have its ability actually.
Yeah, I think it was time to play sword. unfortunately. I mean, we can see both hands, but Jikrin hasn't actually cast a mass removal spell this game except for Hailstorm. So it's pretty likely there's a Harsh Rule in hand, and he's also drawn a lot of cards. I probably would have tried to lead with the sword.
We see Jikrin definitely snapping off that Harsh Rule. As soon as it gets 2 targets, it's definitely a very good play. And now the swords are going to be stranded in Carnage's hand. Nothing to do.
Yeah, and I think if Jikrin just wants to win this game, could just play Runehammer here and probably be okay with that. I mean, he's seen that there aren't any pauses, so he knows there's no ambush units. It decides to be more conservative. I can kind of get behind that. Doesn't want to like throw away the game to something here, but Runehammer, I think Runehammer was actually probably the right play. With all these answers in hand to just about everything.
Yeah, and Jikrin's gaining an additional...
Oh, that's right. He's got a lot of armor as well. I didn't even realize that. But so there's really no excuse not to play the hammer at this point.
Other than that, you're playing temporal control, so you might as well just play like a temporal control player and be as slow as possible, I suppose.
I mean, there is some of that maybe, but I don't know. This is a really light win condition temporal control. I would definitely take advantage of my immense board presence. I mean, immense hand and no board.
Maybe Jikrin just really wanted to get temporal distortion into play before doing anything like that.
Maybe. I don't really know how beneficial that is, but it definitely is how it has worked out.
It means that Jikrin now gets to play on both players' turns.
Yep, and Carnage can decides to go with the Behemoth, kind of safe.
Nothing is safe at this point.
Yeah, decides no standing together is fine on the sword, and I can understand that. It's gonna run into another Harsh Rule or okay, a Vanquish, that's fine too. I think that if I was Carnage, I would probably get the Voda, but only because you can kind of turn that into an extra card draw, and then I would probably just hold it for a while until I drew one of my Sigil Fetchers.
I mean, maybe, but at this point, what would you even be drawing? I'm not sure if Carnage has outs.
Well, he definitely doesn't have outs to this equivocate, but it's more like just trying to build a giant board and kill your... I think he had no outs to Jikrin's hand, to be fair. But Worldbearer Behemoth is doing basically nothing there. So you need to get a card that does something, right? And I think that Voda might have been the only card that had a chance of doing something.
Carnage did decide that there were no outs and that it was time to take the loss.
Yeah, I think that without a very fast start, which his deck doesn't really have, it's going to be very tough for him to win. Oh, this could do... Well, okay, he threw it back. What you guys didn't see is and this hand looks similar to the last one, actually. He had a Parliament, and I didn't really bring that up, but Parliament is another nice card in this matchup. And I didn't really think of that, but Parliament could definitely... How many is he playing? He's actually playing the full 4, so that is something that he might look to win with in these games, if possible. Just establish a really large amount of power early, and then try to get one of these Parliaments down.
That is an option, but it can also just run into a Harsh Rule.
Yeah,
into the story.
Yeah, we did see Jikrin drew a lot of Harsh Rules that game, and that's what the deck does, so it is weak to that for sure. Although he's not playing any End of the Stories. So maybe if you can grind through the harsh rules a little bit, you might be able to do what I thought with the parliaments. But we'll see.
It's possible, but Jikarin can also get Lumen Reclaimer and
yeah,
grind better because Jikarin is a deck designed to grind.
Yeah. He'll definitely end up out grinding you in the long run. And I imagine we'll see Carnage deploy one of these parliaments on 4 unless he gets some sort of early game ramp here to go into a behemoth.
Yeah, because he definitely does want to be the aggressor here.
Mm-hmm. And Jikarin has a great hand, has answers to pretty much everything. It doesn't have a rule in it, but other than that, the hand looks really, really solid.
Knowing what I'm up against, I might definitely want to have a Vanquish or something going on there, but Equivocate is serviceable as well.
Draws a
Carnage does decide that the Great Parliament for 1 is the correct play, and worth note, he also drew a 3rd Great Parliament.
Yeah, that's pretty good. We'll probably see this get wasped down, most likely. Oh, decides to do probably the end of turn Equivocate then on the behemoth, or just draw some cards. Drawing cards is good. Yeah, drawing cards is good.
Now, a Rallying Merchant shows up with targets of Cerso's Choice, Disjunction, Lumen Reclaimer, Temporal Distortion, and Vital Arcana. It's not time for any of that yet, so Jikarin is going to hold off.
That's really interesting. So Jikarin is going
to letting World Bear Behemoth get a trigger.
Yeah, that's what I'm surprised about. I'm surprised that he let it have a trigger.
That trigger is also with Martial Ironthorn in play. So Carnage is now up to 7 power. Even though his World Bear Behemoth does die to the Scorpion Wasp, it also tramples over for 5.
Yeah, I'm not super excited about letting the Ironthorn get an extra trigger here, but I guess it doesn't matter too much now with that harsh rule draw. Because he's going to space this out so that this is going to catch one of these parliaments for sure. Decides to equivocate the Ironthorn. Okay, that's kind of interesting.
That's definitely what I would have been doing from Jikarin's perspective. You don't want Ironthorn to get more triggers after that, but you know, of all things for that to become, I think that's a fairly decent one.
Yeah, I think a Parliament's going to follow it up too, and I'm not excited about that.
Yeah,
I do think the Scrap Tank is okay, but I might have played just the Parliament and kept the Scrap Tank, just because Parliament is a harsh rule worthy threat here on its own. 8 damage in the air is very good, and if Carnage had a Sword of Unity, then Jikarin definitely will have to kill it. But playing both, I think, is a little bit too much into the plays a little bit too hard in the rule. But this is good. This is good. We're gonna Sword of Unity our Parliament. This is exactly what we want to do.
And Jikarin does not look like he's gonna have a way to prevent those things from getting in for damage this turn.
Yep.
Even though he now does have an active Temporal Distortion, still gonna go to 4.
Yeah. I don't actually know how you order this as the I think you have to harsh rule though.
You have to Vital Arcana now.
Okay. Oh, you Arcana now. Okay.
Now
I knew you had to play
one of those as well.
Well, that's exciting.
And the next turn. Okay.
Yeah, equivocate works.
There's another harsh roll. There we are.
Okay. Oh my god.
Play one of those harsh rolls this turn.
Yeah, that's really sick.
And then he can play the second harsh roll on his opponent's turn.
Yeah.
And now Jikarin has various things in hand along.
Oh, don't play the Seraph. Okay, good. All right. Yeah, sorry. Don't play it before attacking. Sorry, I was getting excited.
That Seraph will get a chance to ultimate, or not ultimate. It's not an ultimate, even though it seems like it could be.
It definitely feels like an ultimate. Oh, Runehammer plus Equivocate's a pretty good way to handle that. That's fairly solid. That does mean, though, that Carnage is going to get a 5-drop.
But I think you'd definitely rather a generic 5-drop than a 12-10.
Yeah, it would have to be a pretty stellar 5-drop for it to matter too much. Oh, and he can just wait. That makes sense.
Yeah. Jikaran can, of course, wait until the Towering Tezzerdon attacks, just to eat up Carnage's attack phase.
That's a pretty good hit, though, as far as 5-drops go.
Yeah, it's a 7/7. And
yeah, it is.
2 hits to kill Jikaran, and ooh, a Rune Hammer.
Another Rune Hammer is not exciting.
Exciting. This also does technically shut off Lumen Reclaimer.
That's not actually a bad draw. Keeps a Desert Marshal on top. That could end up winning Carnage the game, just an end of turn Desert Marshal next turn if this.
Jikaran drawing Panel the Tempest is going to seem like enough because he's able to get Permafrost off of it, exactly what I needed to be able to prevent Reality Warden from attacking. I've also put him in the option of Equivocate or something. And I think that Jikaran did wind up drawing what he needed to that.
Oh man. And he planned for pretty much all the contingencies by grabbing that Circe's Choice.
Yeah, to gain more life. Or
yeah, gain life and get an Aegis. I'm not super fond of the 2-1 attacking, but hey, I don't think it matters too much. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Well, at that point, Carnage figured it's most likely a situation where Aurelian Merchant has to block the other
7/7
if Jikaran doesn't have a removal spell, and if that's the case, the 2/2 is still lethal.
True. Yeah, that's a good point. My thought process on it is more like I have Sword of Unity in my deck, and I may not want to get rid of my last unit like that. But at the same point, he is attacking for lethal with the 2/1 as well, so I can understand it.
If you have
God, Vanquish was such a good draw.
You attack for lethal, right?
Yes, you do. I'm just you definitely do attack for lethal. I think you know about the Equivocate is what I'm getting at, so it might have been worth it to play around it is what I'm thinking, because you do know the Equivocate exists.
So
well, you know that some fast spell exists, I guess.
Yeah, Jikaran chose to play the Rune Hammer to kill the 1/1, and that was actually the one putting on pressure, but it's gonna take some time for that pressure to really be relevant. But if Carnage is just drawing cards like Lingering Influence, that is the time Jikaran would need. That time sigil goes straight to the bottom, as that is far, far from what's needed here. And another Vanquish means that Jikaran has things to deal with the next unit Carnage plays, if Carnage ever draws a unit instead of just additional sigils.
I would probably stop playing Power, actually. I probably would stop playing Power about 3 Power ago.
Well,
only because, or I would at least hold 2, just because you have Mystic Ascendants in your deck and like a full suite of them.
Yes, but he also has the Great Parliament. Sure, there's only 1 left in the deck, so maybe you're right there. And it looks like it's going to be Vodacon just to say, hey, this is a big unit, it will kill you if you don't kill it. And Jikaran's like, yeah, but I've had enough turns to draw kill spells. What were you doing? Drawing power?
And he was indeed drawing power. Anyway, I think that we were at the point in the game that 4 birds would have probably got it done about an equal amount as 5. Is what I was going with the whole Parliament thing. But I can see playing it for Parliament though. You're right. It's just I think 4/4/4s might have also been okay. This is a pretty savage beating though, unfortunately.
Yeah, Carnage got so close, but in the end, it's just so far.
Yeah.
Scorpion Wasp to eat the T1.
Yeah.
Just to keep the hammer alive.
I mean, it's lethal, so why not, I suppose?
Yep. Congratulations to Jikaran for the 2-0 against Carnage. That means that Jikaran is now 3-0. We'll be moving on to the last round of the tournament with a good pile of invitational points so far. We'll see, perhaps, if he gets to get his additional one. But until then, we will check to see if there are any other games to watch.
It'll get the job done, guaranteed.
Oh, it does look like there's a game.
Yurikyu versus Kalos.
That's unfortunate. Yurik had to face another End of Hostilities deck. Probably not his favorite matchup.
Certainly not. But, I mean, this particular one generally makes some larger board states that Harshul plays well into, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Harshul's probably a little bit... I mean, it's pretty effective against both decks in general, but it's pretty decent against the Kinnaden's deck, I think. Oh, some of their units are pretty sticky, though. If Kalos is running, and I think she is the Spark Hatchers, it can be a little rough just relying on Harsh Rule.
This match is currently 1-1, which means that Yurikyu did manage to pull out a win against Kalos, but he's going to need to manage to do that again if he wants to show that this deck does beat Kinnaden.
Yep. Kalos goes against the Flame Stoker. I like that. It's pretty good.
Yurikyu does not have any way to deal with that right now.
Yeah.
And that's a harsh roll on 2 3/3s.
It is. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. Those things are beating him down, so I can see that being fine.
One thing we do see in Yurikyu's market is a Zindel's Gift, and that could really hamper Kalos, but I don't think there's going to be enough time to draw into a merchant to do that. Yurikyu, of course, only having 2 merchants that can get that card.
Yeah, and one of the problems is that he'll also need to break face ages. He's got Banish that can do it, but it's kind of...
Alchemist.
Yeah, and Alchemist is true. I guess the Alchemist is a good way to do it for sure. I wonder if Kalos is thinking of maybe just holding this Waystone, then it doesn't really do that much. It doesn't get you any closer to the Flame Stoker.
Yeah, it's important to note that Kalos is currently only on 1 fire influence, and with that will not be able to play the Flame Stoker unless 2 more sigils that produce fire show up. And there's Karendon Merchant, so
yeah,
we might actually be happening for Yurikyu.
Yeah, we might see the Merchant getting a gift here, and might even see the Alchemy. Oh, okay, decides to go with maybe the Banish as the Aegis Popper, which is a little bit safer, I guess, than the Alchemist.
An end of turn Aegis Popper as opposed to a turn before Aegis Popper means that Kalos wouldn't be able to get a second Aegis off of that Waystone that is in her hand. So this will work out better for Yurikyu.
Yeah. I think she does get to keep her hand for a turn, which could be good. The harsh rule makes it not as good, though. I wonder if you're gonna sniff out the gift now and decide to just go on ahead and play this assembly line. Doesn't look like.
Yeah, here's Yurku banishing Killus's Aegis, and yeah, she can't do anything about that, so she's going to get gifted.
Yeah,
Does
she will
by
get
any chance
gifted.
Have Boar in the market?
She does have Boar in the market, which would be really excellent if she drew a merchant here.
She would have to draw the merchant this turn, though, because otherwise that merchant will never have something.
Well, she has 2 turns, luckily. She can put an Aegis on her face this turn, and Azendel's gift will actually eat that Aegis. And then next turn, if she drew a merchant, she could still do what she needs to do.
Oh, you're right. That's a situation that I personally have not run across, generally because I try to avoid playing decks that go into the Azendel's gift range.
Yeah. Well, you also don't see gift very often anymore, really. It's kind of rare to see one eat, like, especially on ladder. I don't think I've seen gift in forever. I've played it a little bit. But gift is a little weak to face Aegis in this regard, but
it's also just not very meta against a format where Alessi aggro decks are rather popular.
Yeah, and I like what Kalos is doing, throwing down the Kenna, getting back wisdom. That way she gets the most opportunity to get this Boar. Because Boar will be really quite good.
Certainly. Not only will it allow her to save herself from the gift, but it can also break Stronghold Visage while she's at it.
Well, that's not super exciting, but power is actually fine.
She goes ahead and plays that first.
Yeah. I don't know if I would have played it first, but it seems fine to me. She's going to need to play that pretty much no matter what. Okay. Well, that sucks.
Yeah. That definitely sucks for Kalos, as now she will never really be working with as many resources as Yurku has.
She still has some good opportunities in this game, though. She should probably play the assembly line. Yeah, because she can't really do anything with the cell. So I don't think I really like trying to torture anything here.
And keep in mind, that also gets rid of the Flamestoker that she went and got out of the market all those few mini turns ago.
Yeah. It's pretty bad. The problem is, like, she needs to probably see some... I don't know. Now it's going to be really hard because that gift turns off markets pretty much completely.
Yeah.
She'll have to now wisdom or strategize into... Actually, it's basically just wisdom into a merchant. And that's going to be really difficult to do.
End of the story as well means that Yurku has an opportunity to wipe out Kalos' board to prevent her from maybe being able to tribute a Kenna later on, and also to prevent the damage that this attack each turn does wind up doing.
Yeah, we might actually see him just deploy it now because he could plan on playing a sword next turn and just try to end the game.
And since he has one on top of the deck, that also means that it will be equal to another card draw.
Yeah, nice. I did not even see that. That's very good. Oh, that's a shame. It is 2 cards, but we don't get to see any unstable form fun.
Nothing to use it on.
Yep. Well, still trying to live the merchant into a wisdom, or wisdom into a merchant dream. Here we go.
Wisdom, and it's gonna be Fire Sigil and Strategize.
Well, we can still. Oh, we could have though. We can't
Oh.
now. We could have done it though.
Kalos! Why did you play the power?
Oh no.
Kalos!
Yeah. It would have yeah, actually we would have been able to do 2 boars, I think, right?
Yeah, one.
Oh no,
It
one
would have
boar.
only been one boar, but
Still probably would have been okay, but not
better than
super.
still having a Zindel's gift on you. There might have been a world where sort of the Sky King would have been the correct target, but it's not going to wind up working out for Kalos. And with that, Yurikyu takes the last match of this round. We will be moving on to our final round, round 4, shortly.
Sounds good.
And here we are with the finals. The Overmaster and Jikaran are our 2 remaining undefeated players at this point. And now we're going to cull that number down to exactly 1. Will it be the Overmaster on his Hurukena list, or will it be Jikaran on Temporal Control?
Yeah, I'm not super excited to see Temporal Control for the 2.5 time today, but I am excited to see Overmaster for a 2nd time today. Just because I think the deck is sweet, and also I'm excited to see how this matchup plays out.
Yeah, it's not really a matchup I've ever seen of, largely because I've not seen the Overmaster's deck before today.
Yeah. I think that some of the things that give Overmaster the edge is just the ability to get rid of cards that aren't good in this matchup, like Vanquish and Hailstorm. Trading them for actual good value cards.
Certainly a bonus here, but he also has cards that he's already planning to discard, like
True, yeah.
a unit to activate Tribute or Privilege of Rank to get rid of Privilege of Rank.
Yeah, there's definitely, and he definitely has a plan, and it most likely involves discarding other cards. But I'm thinking more in towards the mid-late game where maybe he just needs a really dense hand full of threats. Discarding some of these removal spells that don't do anything could be really helpful for him.
It looks like the players are ready, so let's get into the finals of the ECL Tuesday Weekly.
Yay! I would probably mulligan Overmaster's hand. Jikaran's hand's fairly perfect for this matchup, though.
Certainly is.
When Overmaster was playing against... Oh, goodness. Urik's deck, the two cards I said were pretty important in the matchup were Runehammer and Wasp, and we see both of those in Jikaran's hands. So that's pretty exciting.
Certainly convenient here for Jikaran. Well, the Overmaster, he's definitely going to have to take some time in development. He will be able to play Privilege of Rank, but also that means that you're spending a turn to play Privilege of Rank when you could be discarding it.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a 2-for-1. It's not that bad, but I agree. He'd prefer to discard it for sure. I mean, it's 2 power for 1 spell, so it's not an exciting 2-for-1. But it's better than doing nothing, I guess.
Yeah, he will be able to play Torgov next turn, and Torgov the turn after.
Yeah, the first Torgov is probably going to be
Blocked by
fairly,
Scorpion Wasp.
Yeah, fairly unexciting. And I'm actually surprised to see Jikaran put a Equivocate on the bottom with that strategized. I think those are still pretty good in this matchup.
Certainly. And right now we're seeing that Jikaran isn't actually drawing much in the way of removal, having it mostly be power. This could prove to be a problem if he doesn't draw something else good fairly quickly. Overmaster gets to play the second Torgov this turn. Oh, Wisdom of the Elders. Well, that can definitely draw some good stuff for a Seat of Order and Seek Power.
That's a little unfortunate, but at the same time, Wisdom was pretty good because he still gets to deploy this Equivocate, which is fine.
Let's see what Torgov becomes now. Ooh.
That's actually not too bad. It's not great, but it is a charge unit, which is kind of exciting. Unfortunately, it does die to the Runehammer.
Yeah, it means the Overmaster does get to get in for some damage.
Yeah.
Well, Jikaran's just seeing another Equivocate and deciding that's going to stay on the top.
Decides to keep this Equivocate. That's kind of interesting.
Oh, and the Overmaster draws into a Merchant. Do you think
pretty perfect?
He'll be getting rid of one of his removal spells here to go get some?
Could probably get rid of power if he wanted to. Like, he's already at a very comfortable amount. I haven't looked at the market again, but I think that maybe Thunderstrike Dragon is where he wants to be, at least with the hands that we can see. But Unseal can be kind of an exciting pickup here as well.
You're
he goes
right
for the dragon.
On the dot with the Thunderstrike Dragon choice here. It's a big threat that he can play, and it's a second big threat that he can play. Jikaran, of course, now knows that there's Thunderstrike Dragons over there, but doesn't really have anything to do about it.
Oh, okay. That's kind of interesting. He decides not to kill anything with the Runehammer. It makes sense. Doesn't want to just lose his hammer.
Small units isn't exactly what you want to be doing with Runehammer.
Well, I mean, it's not that small. That thing's a 3/3. That can really beat down. He's actually kind of in trouble here. I do like this. Overmaster doesn't want to draw the end of hostilities and would rather take another trip to the market. And now this Unseal is looking really good.
Certainly. There goes the second Vanquish, which really just isn't doing much here, so I definitely prefer having the extra power if I'm the Overmaster.
Yeah, so far it looks like keeping... Did he... I don't know this for sure. Did he already put one of those Vanquishes in the market? Is that what happened?
He's put Vanquish in the market with both merchants.
Yeah. Then keeping that power definitely did work out for him.
And now Jikaran just sort of did the Auric Runehammer play a turn later, and that means that you can't also use an Equivocate on Venom Rider to save the Runehammer for a second hit.
Yeah, there was definitely a little bit of merit to just going ahead and running out that Runehammer, maybe killing the Merchant. But I think we're going to see this Unseal maybe finish this game off. It's very possible.
Oh, it definitely will be.
If I'm Jikaran, I kind of want to go for this rule.
Yeah.
He decides
he goes for the Vanquish because he knows that the Overmaster certainly could have that Unseal, and he actually already did see the pause, so he knows that it is that. And that means that he'll at least be able to Equivocate the Thunderstrike Dragon and survive this turn.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, it was a good play. And what's sort of crazy about it is I wonder, do you equivocate? Yeah, I guess you do equivocate the dragon just to save the most life. But this harsh rule is basically still gonna end up. You're still probably going to die most likely. But I do like how he gave himself the chance to not just straight up die to the unseal. That was a really good
Hailstorm
draw.
is definitely good, but it would have to be combined with our rule to wipe out this board, and probably will be happening because that means that the Overmaster, who doesn't traditionally have any charge units in his deck, shouldn't be killing Jikaran this turn.
Yeah, and what's kind of crazy, I think I would have held the power though. So Jikaran decided to play the Waystone there, and that is a problem because that channel was actually going to kill this next dragon.
And he, of course, knew that Thunderstruck Dragon was a possible play because he already saw the first one. They come in pairs.
So I guess he's thinking, okay, I'll just kill it next turn. But now with this 7/5 coming down, and I think it should if you're Overmaster, but maybe he's feeling he needs to hold that last threat. I think you utilize one of these two big cards in your hand.
You end of hostility is your dragon. That way you still have a threat that you can play down into an empty board later.
Yeah, I like this. Overmaster saw the line, and I like this line quite a bit.
And this line is going to be the line that allows the Overmaster to beat Jikaran, unless Jikaran manages to top deck.
He's going to need a Vanquish or a Wasp.
We're going to equivocate for the second Thunderstruck Dragon.
I actually don't like the crest.
Explain why.
He has a couple of 3 power outs to this board, so I kind of like saving the crest either post or at least giving himself the opportunity to play one of those. Like Wasp would have been fine there.
Well,
it looks like it didn't matter because he didn't draw it.
And that is going to put the Overmaster up 1 game over Jikaran in rather quick fashion, which I suppose is how you beat temporal control.
Yeah, I mean, Temporal still got to cast a channel. That's usually not what you want, but pretty much the entire time he was putting pressure on him. And I think a couple times Jikaran stumbled a little bit, just had opportunities to cast that Root Hammer a little earlier, that kind of thing, and just decided not to. And I think that was probably the point at which it cost him that game.
Players are right back in the game, ready for the second chance here for Jikaran and an opportunity for the Overmaster to maybe close it out.
Yeah, this is a pretty bad mulligan for the Overmaster.
Certainly. Over on Jikaran's side of things, we don't see a much greater hand, but Strategize certainly can turn any hand into something for the ages.
Yeah. His hand's a little slow, but like you said, it's fine. It's a little weak to something like Feast Caller. I think that, but we also can see that Overmaster's not really close to casting a Feast Caller just because he needs another primal source.
And doesn't have any hand.
Well, that too, yeah, but we know that this deck also draws quite a few cards, so I think it could get there, but it does have to attack to draw, so it's possible that might not happen, except for, cards like the 2/3 that loots. I can't remember the name of every card.
Nocturnal Observer.
Thank you. You can remember the name of every card. That's good.
I do have some talents, and they happen to contribute well to operating as an eternal caster.
Yeah, I'm jealous, frankly. Okay, so Torgov is pretty good, and I wonder if you're Jikaran, if you just it's time to use the Vanquish. It's kind of interesting to me to just use one of these harsh rules because Overmaster tends to go big instead of wide, and you might be able to find a tempo play in a later turn with with this Vanquish. But I can get behind playing the Vanquish instead.
The harsh rule also plays really well into post End of Hostilities turns.
That is true, yeah.
Now, the one thing I would have been considering is equivocating there rather than Vanquish, because you know that one of the other cards that the Overmaster has, because you've seen the Fate effect happen, is Jotun Hurler, who is this pretty much the same threat level as Torgov, but one cost higher.
Yeah, and you're right. The hurler lines up really well against this equivocate for sure. Decides to go for the dragons again. I like that. Just keep the hand threat dense. I mean, we might be a little over the top now, but I like it. I think it's going to work out in the long run.
The Overmaster will now be able to play a threat for the next 6 turns.
Yeah.
Which means that Jikaran is going to have to play answers or harsh rule multiple units and find ways to deal with this. And also, due to the possibility of that, the Overmaster might choose not to play anything this turn, or the Overmaster might choose to end of hostilities his Genève Merchant to have another Aegis threat that can
I kind of like
go
that
under harsh rule.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid play actually. It also lets you grab an unseal, which is fairly attractive. You can put back like a Torgov or something. It's definitely one of the weaker threats.
Putting back Thunderstrike Dragon is so underrated, though.
True, it does present even more dragons. That is a good point.
This, of course, coming from the guy who's been playing a bunch of Crown Roaches and uses that strategy frequently, even on Echo Merchants.
Oh, that sounds sick. He did put back a dragon. He was listening to you. I do like that just because he needs to get to 8 power if he wants to deploy a dragon and have unseal up. But Torgov is a different matter, right? You could play one of those and keep it up. So it also makes actual like current board sense too, and not just super fun. But I think it's both.
I'm not allowed to divulge too many secrets, but Mind Link is a thing.
It is, yeah. I mean, I've actually been experimenting with some Mind Link controls a little bit here and there, and they are the card is with Equivocate. It got a lot better. So
certainly has, but I was more talking about perhaps a real world Mind Link.
Oh, gotcha.
Cheating, so
I got you. Okay. Like you and Overmaster have melded minds. Perfect. Well, Overmaster looks to be in a pretty good spot in this game. He gets to actually deploy Kinna and maybe get back this End of Hostilities, which is pretty good.
And that means that another threat gets cloned. Jikaran can't kill Kinna. Actually, can kill Kinna with Channel the Tempest. I did my math wrong.
Yeah, that might be the best card to play to get count. He knows unseals here, and so he decides to go for the harsh rule on the counter instead. I kind of like the channel more, but I can sort of see what he's going for.
Well, channel will be able to draw additional cards after that. You're also facing down a End of Hostilities that you know Overmaster has, and the only really way to deal with multiple Kennas is going to be a board sweeper like Harsh Rule.
Yeah, and I don't know what Overmaster has left in his market besides the dragons. I'd have to look real quick. It looks like he doesn't have any spells that he could actually cast. But there is a world in which you could copy your own merchant and grab a spell and then kill him with the Kenna triggers. But it looks like Vision is the only actual spell he has left, which doesn't have any targets right now.
Unfortunately, we do not live in that world that you're theorizing.
Yeah.
We could have if Jikaran made the mistake of playing Recon Tower.
I do think you could have done this pre-combat and did a little more damage, but it probably isn't going to matter in the long run.
2 more damage would have made this Genève Merchant a lethal threat. That is relevant because it has Aegis.
That's true.
Now, it turns out a Hailstorm draw probably won't mean it's going to be any different.
Yeah. I think that Jikrin was looking for an undepleted power and that
Yeah, if he
equivocate or
got
something like that.
undepleted power alongside that equivocate, he would have survived the turn. So it definitely was a minor misplay by the Overmaster, but it's not going to be enough to prevent him from 2-0ing Jikrin to win first place on the Great Parliament's Eternal Community League Tuesday Weekly event. That's going
Congrats,
to
Overmaster.
be great for the Overmaster's invitational points leading up to the September Invitational, which we currently have a prize pool of how much for? Let me double check.
Also,
We
while you're
currently have
checking
a
on that,
prize pool of $354.
wow, nice.
Thanks to Sillyhead Pantsman, who wait, no, this is last month. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay. I was like, it was 199 last I looked. But I bet we did get a little over that now.
We're at $202.30. My bad. A big part of that came from It Is Me. Then we've got Lol Magikarp, who tossed in a 10. Croge, who tossed in 5. Taco Lord with $2.50 for the stream shoutout. Shoutouts to Taco Lord. And beyond that, it's been built up through people adding to the prize pool for free using our coupon code ECL September 18 or going to the sponsor links on the Match Arena page. If you haven't done that yet, that's a way to help support the Great Parliament, the Eternal Community League, and the players participating in it, because that money will wind up going to the people who make it to the Invitational.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
And thank you to Takalord for the sub as well. I'm not sure quite how long ago that was. I might have missed it, but that is fantastic. A sub on Twitch is definitely very helpful as well.
I do want to mention real quick because I think Overmaster will probably want to talk about us saying he made a misplay. I think I know why he didn't cast that pre-combat. It was because he didn't want his Kenna to get eaten by a wasp, and if it did, he wanted the extra value, I think. Just saying. That's for you, Overmaster. But thank you everybody for letting me cast here. It's been a pleasure, and thank you all for donating to the Invitational. It's really awesome.
Thank you very much for being here to cast with me. It was a lot of fun, and thank you to everyone here who's watched all of our players, and we hope to see you here on Thursday for our next weekly event. We can show you that schedule right now.